It's funny how the world changes. New roofs, new cars, new faces, and somewhere in between, the old things start to look out of place. At the corner of Willow Creek Drive stood a little white-painted house. Peeling in a few spots, a porch swing that creaked with every breeze, and flower boxes filled with petunias that leaned toward the sun. To most, it was just another home. But to Margaret Whitfield, it was her entire life. She'd been born in that house 72 years ago. Her father built it with his own hands, plank by plank, after returning from the war. Her mother planted the oak tree out front the day Margaret was born. Every squeak in the floor, every dent in the railing, it was all a piece of memory. And yet, to the HOA, it was a problem. One bright Tuesday morning, Margaret opened her mailbox and found a letter. The paper was stiff, the tone colder than it needed to be. Notice of property appearance violation. Your residence does not meet the updated neighborhood aesthetic standards. Please repaint exterior, replace porch railing, and modernize visible fixtures within 30 days. She read it twice, her hands trembling just a little. Modernize. That word strung. Her porch swing, the same one her husband built before he passed, had carried 3 generations of laughter. Her railing was carved by her father when she was 5. And her blue shutters, they'd been painted that color because it was her mother's favorite. She folded the letter and sighed. Too old, she murmured. Maybe so, but so am I. That afternoon, a sleek SUV rolled up. Out stepped Jason Green, the HOA president, mid-40s, polished shoes, perfect smile. Mrs. Whitfield, he said, clipboard in hand, I hope you got our notice. We're just working to keep property values consistent. Some of the board members think your home could use a bit of updating. Margaret smiled politely. It's been standing here longer than any of those houses down the street, Jason. It's never hurt anyone's value before. He gave a soft chuckle, the kind people use when they think they're being patient. Well, times change. We'd just like everything to look cohesive. Gray tones, modern fixtures, maybe a new door. She glanced at her faded blue door, the one her husband had carried her through on their wedding day. Her voice stayed calm, but her eyes hardened. I'll think about it, she said. That night she sat at her kitchen table, letters spread before her, old photographs, yellowed newspaper clippings, a black and white picture of her father hammering the house frame in 1948. Her eyes filled softly with tears. If they wanted modern, they could have it. But first, they were going to learn what history meant. The next morning, she called the local paper. Then the town's historical society. Then the mayor's office. Within days, she had a small group of volunteers visiting her yard. Historians, reporters, neighbors curious to see what was happening at the old Whitfield place. Margaret guided them around with quiet pride. My father built this home after serving in World War II. The lumber came from the mill that once stood where the shopping center is now. The porch posts are original, cut from oak trees on this very land. And those shutters, my mother painted them blue during the drought of '63 because she said the color reminded her of rain. The newspaper photographer snapped pictures, the historian took notes, and that night, Margaret's house appeared on the local news with the headline, Historic Home Faces HOA Pressure for Modern Upgrades. The story spread faster than she expected. By the next week, people were driving by just to look, waving, honking, leaving flowers on her porch steps. Even the children walking home from school stopped to ask questions about the old war house. Margaret always smiled and told them, every house has a story, sweetheart. You just have to listen close enough to hear it. The HOA wasn't thrilled. Jason showed up again, this time less polite. Mrs. Whitfield, we're getting attention. Maybe we can reach a compromise. Margaret looked up from her rocking chair. I think we already have one. The town council's reviewing a petition to designate this house a local historical landmark. Jason blinked. A landmark. She nodded. Once approved, it'll be exempt from your aesthetic regulations. For the first time, his perfect smile slipped. The following month, the entire neighborhood gathered outside City Hall. Reporters, neighbors, even the mayor. When they called her name, Margaret walked slowly to the podium, hands trembling slightly but voice strong. She spoke not about rules or property values, but about roots. You can build new homes, she said, but you can't build history. My home may look old, but every nail and board carries the story of this community, the people who worked hard, raised families, and made this place more than just a set of coordinates on a map. The room fell silent. When the vote came in, it was unanimous. Whitfield House was declared an official historical property. Back on Willow Creek Drive, the new plaque gleamed proudly by her front gate. Whitfield House, established 1948. Neighbors stopped to take photos, kids waved on their bikes, and for the first time in years, Margaret felt her husband's spirit sitting beside her on that old swing. Jason drove by one evening, rolled down his window, and managed a small, genuine smile. "Congratulations, Mrs. Whitfield," he said quietly. She nodded. "Thank you, Jason. Maybe next time the HOA can help protect what matters instead of trying to repaint it." He laughed softly. "Maybe you're right." As the sun set that evening, golden light spilled across her porch. The blue shutters glowed, the oak tree whispered in the breeze, and the swing creaked just enough to sound like a heartbeat. Margaret closed her eyes, listening to the sounds of her home, the same sounds that had carried her through childhood, love, loss, and everything in between. And in that moment, she realized something simple and beautiful. You can't modernize a memory. You can only cherish it. Because some homes aren't just built with wood and nails. They're built with time, love, and the stories worth keeping alive.